302 inches of snow. That's over 25 feet, folks, is what the European model is now projecting for parts of the Sierra Nevada over the next 2 weeks. And that number keeps climbing with every single model run. Mr. Harold is an 82-year-old retired postal worker in Minneapolis who has been completely snowed in for 3 days straight. And this morning he called his son with genuine fear in his voice. He's running low on his heart medication. The snow outside his door is nearly 2 feet deep, and he simply cannot get out. That's the human reality of what this storm is doing to folks right now. Honolulu is basking in 79 degrees of tropical paradise right now, while Anchorage shivers at 8 degrees with brutal Arctic wind chill. That's a 71-degree temperature swing happening across this country as we speak. And here's what just got worse overnight that nobody saw coming. The surprise snowstorm hitting the Northeast right now has intensified to 12 to 20 inches for New York City, with snow falling at 3 inches per hour. The atmosphere is delivering a double feature this weekend. Storm number 1 is actively burying the Northeast in historic snow as I speak, while storm number 2 is lining up to absolutely pummel the western mountains. All right, folks, think of this pattern like a 1-2 punch from Mother Nature herself. The first hit just knocked the East Coast flat with surprise snow, and the second punch is winding up out west, ready to deliver feet of mountain snow. We're tracking multiple winter storms over the next 10 days, and depending on where you live, you could be digging out from 2 feet of snow, dealing with dangerous wind chills, or enjoying 80-degree beach weather. Now, before we dive into all the details, drop your city in the comments right now. I genuinely want to know where you're watching from and what you're seeing outside your window this morning. And stick with me through this entire breakdown, because at the end, I've got 3 bold predictions you can screenshot, plus some critical timing on when that massive western snow arrives. So let me walk you through exactly what's happening right now, because this surprise northeast snowstorm has exceeded almost everyone's expectations, including mine. 24 hours ago, models were showing maybe 3 to 6 inches for the I-95 corridor, but overnight there was a huge northward shift and the snow amounts have basically doubled across the board. In plain English, that means the computer models got more aggressive. The storm tracked closer to the coast than expected, and now we're looking at a legitimate blizzard emergency from Boston down to Baltimore. Now remember Mr. Harold in Minneapolis I mentioned at the top, his driveway hasn't been visible for 3 days. And his son is making the 5-hour drive from Chicago today just to shovel him out and check on his medication. That's exactly the kind of situation I worry about with these prolonged snow events. Elderly folks living alone who can't get to their pharmacy, can't get to the grocery store, can't even get to their mailbox. Here's the question I need you to answer honestly if a winter storm knocks out your power at 3 a.m. tonight. Do you have a backup plan to stay warm until morning? Because that's exactly what's happening to thousands of folks in the snow zones right now. Power lines are down, roads are impassable, and help might not arrive for hours. Let me give you the current snow totals because these numbers are absolutely staggering for a storm that surprised almost everyone with its intensity. New York City at 35 degrees with 12 to 20 inches now on the ground. Snow still falling at rates up to 3 inches per hour. The I-95 corridor is a disaster zone right now. The bridges and tunnels are seeing major delays, and if you don't absolutely have to travel today in the tri-state area, my strong advice is simple: stay home and stay safe. Boston at 34 degrees with 10 to 16 inches piling up. Wind chills plummeting to minus 18 after the snow stops. Bundle up because that post-storm cold is going to be brutal. Philadelphia at 38 degrees getting hammered with 12 to 18 inches. The entire I-95 corridor from the city out to the suburbs is seeing legitimate whiteout conditions. Chicago at 30 degrees with 12 to 18 inches and wind chills dropping to minus 15. O'Hare is reporting major delays and hundreds of cancellations. Definitely check your flights before heading out. Here's what makes this storm so dangerous. Snow is falling at 2 to 3 inches per hour, which means road crews plow a highway and it's buried again in 30 minutes. They simply cannot keep up. Washington, D.C. at 43 degrees with 11 to 17 inches. The federal government is closed and Metro is running on limited service. The Smithsonian museums are your warm indoor escape. Baltimore at 40 degrees with 12 to 18 inches. The whole I-95 coastal corridor is just getting absolutely pounded by this surprise storm system. Minneapolis at 25 degrees with a staggering 16 to 22 inches. This is the heaviest snowfall in the entire country right now, and Mr. Harold's driveway still hasn't been visible since Wednesday. Milwaukee at 27 degrees with 14 to 20 inches of lake effect snow piling up fast. Detroit at 29 degrees with 12 to 18 inches. These Great Lakes cities are absolutely in the bullseye. St. Paul at 24 degrees with 15 to 21 inches. Madison at 26 with 13 to 19 inches. The Twin Cities in southern Wisconsin are completely buried under this relentless snow. Indianapolis at 31 degrees with 11 to 17 inches and strong gusty winds making things worse. Columbus at 32 with 10 to 16 inches. The whole Midwest is getting hammered. Cleveland at 31 degrees with 10 to 16 inches of lake effect snow. Buffalo at 29 with 12 to 18 inches. Lake Erie is doing its thing and dumping snow on everything in its path. Pittsburgh at 33 degrees with 10 to 16 inches. The entire Appalachian region is seeing significant accumulation as this coastal storm wraps moisture inland. Now shifting to the Mid-Atlantic and the Carolinas, because you folks are caught in that tricky transition zone where snow totals are still very impressive. Charlotte at 42 degrees with 12 to 18 inches of wet, heavy snow. This is bona fide blizzard territory for North Carolina. Schools are closed statewide and roads are treacherous. Raleigh at 45 degrees with 10 to 16 inches. Richmond at 43 with 12 to 18 inches. The entire Virginia and Carolina Piedmont region is getting absolutely walloped today. Greensboro at 43 degrees with a whopping 14 to 20 inches. That's one of the highest totals in the entire state. And power outages are being reported across the region as we speak. Norfolk and Virginia Beach with 10 to 16 inches. The Tidewater region is seeing coastal snowbands pile up faster than crews can clear them. Please stay off the roads. Nashville at 45 degrees with 8 to 12 inches. Memphis at 48 with 4 to 8 inches of mixed precipitation. The southern storm is bringing winter weather further south than we typically see. All right, now here's where I want to shift your attention. Because while the east deals with this surprise snowstorm, the west is about to get absolutely crushed starting Tuesday. Remember that 302-inch number I mentioned at the very top, the GFS model, is showing 242 inches. And both models agree this could be the most significant mountain snowstorm of the entire winter season. In plain English, we're talking about storm after storm after storm lining up in the Pacific Ocean like planes waiting to land at a busy airport. And they're all dumping their moisture on the western mountains. And here's the part that's not just about skiing and snowboarding the snowpack across California, the Pacific Northwest. And the Great Basin is currently running below 50% of average. That's a massive water supply deficit that has water managers genuinely worried. And this storm system is about to make a huge dent in that problem for 40 million Californians who depend on that snowmelt. With March typically being the snowiest month for the western mountains, this could be the beginning of a sustained snowpack recovery that the West has been desperately waiting for all winter. Let me break down what this means for the West Coast cities, because the impacts are going to be significant even down in the valleys where most people actually live. Los Angeles at 66 degrees with 0.8 to 1.5 inches of valley rain, but the mountains above you are looking at 4 to 7 feet of snow, and I-5 through the Grapevine will very likely close. San Francisco at 56 degrees with 1.8 to 3 inches of rain as the atmospheric river pushes through. Sacramento at 57 with 2.5 to 4 inches of heavy valley rain and river flooding concerns. Seattle at 46 degrees with 2.5 to 4 inches of steady rain. The Cascades are looking at 2.5 feet of snow this week alone. And honestly, that's just the appetizer for what's coming. Portland at 44 degrees with 3 to 4.5 inches of rain. Typical Pacific Northwest weather, but this atmospheric river is stronger than usual. Flooding concerns are very real. Denver at 39 degrees with 8 to 12 inches of front-range snow on the way. The Rockies west of you are going to see several feet pile up through the week. Salt Lake City at 50 degrees in the valley, but the Wasatch Range is looking at massive accumulation. Reno at 46 with Lake Tahoe expecting a minimum of 6 feet, possibly more. Now let me quickly show you the escape zones, because not everyone is dealing with feet of snow or flooding rains this weekend, and some of you really lucked out. Miami and Orlando are basking in the upper 70s to 80 degrees with absolute theme park perfection. Phoenix and Tucson in the upper 60s with gorgeous desert sunshine. These are your warm escapes. Honolulu at 79 degrees with tropical paradise. Las Vegas at 56 with those famous strip lights glowing, if you're lucky enough to be there. Please enjoy it for the rest of us freezing out here. The Gulf Coast from Tampa to Jacksonville is seeing scattered light rain but staying warm in the upper 60s to low 70s. The South is finally transitioning back to normal after all the severe weather. Now let me tell you what concerns me most about the next 48 hours. And I want to be completely straight with you because this is genuinely important for folks in the snow zones. The combination of heavy snow falling at 2 to 3 inches per hour, plus gusty winds creating near zero visibility, is a recipe for stranded motorists, and that can turn deadly fast. If you get stuck in your car during a blizzard with wind chills dropping to minus 15 or lower, that can become a life-threatening situation in a matter of hours, not days. Mr. Harold in Minneapolis understands this all too well. He's 82 years old, lives alone, and told his son he hasn't stepped outside in 3 days because the snow is simply too deep. He's running low on his heart medication. And that's the human reality of these prolonged snow events that the raw numbers on screen just don't capture. If you have elderly parents, neighbors, or relatives living alone in the snow zones, pick up the phone and check on them today. A simple 2-minute call could literally save a life. Now here's what's coming next week that's going to make this pattern even more interesting. And trust me, you're definitely going to want to hear this part. The massive warm ridge that has been parked over the central United States, giving folks temperatures 20 to 30 degrees above normal, is about to get completely eroded. The cold air that's been bottled up in Alaska and British Columbia is finally going to start pushing south and east, and by next weekend around February 20th, the pattern flips dramatically. Dallas might actually drop into the 50s by next weekend, which doesn't sound cold on paper. But after 3 weeks of temperatures running 20 to 30 above normal, it's going to feel like a shock to the system. The polar vortex disruption that has been unfolding in the stratosphere is still working its way down to the surface, and once it fully connects, the door opens wide for more Arctic outbreaks. And here's what I'm watching most closely for next week if that polar vortex connects fully. We might be looking at the coldest air of the entire winter hitting the central states. But I'll break that down in tomorrow's video. Kansas City at 37 degrees with 9 to 13 inches of mixed precipitation. St. Louis at 39 with 8 to 12 inches. The gateway cities are sitting right in that messy snow-rain transition zone. Omaha at 33 degrees with 11 to 15 inches. Lincoln at 34 with 10 to 14 inches. The Nebraska cities are getting significant snow accumulation from this powerful system. Wichita at 43 degrees with 5 to 9 inches of snow. Tulsa at 48 with 3 to 6 inches of mixed precipitation. Oklahoma is right on the southern edge of this winter weather. Now here's what I need you to do based on where you are, because different regions require completely different game plans this weekend. If you're in the heavy snow zone from Minneapolis through Chicago to Boston, stay off the roads unless absolutely necessary. Keep your phone fully charged and have emergency supplies within reach. Know where your snow shovel is. But here's the critical part. Don't overexert yourself shoveling because heart attacks spike dramatically during heavy snow events. Take breaks every 15 to 20 minutes. If you have a snowblower, make sure it's gassed up and ready to go. Because with 12 to 20 inches falling, you're going to need to run it multiple times just to keep up. If you're out west getting ready for that massive mountain snow starting Tuesday, check road conditions before any mountain travel. Chains will absolutely be required for most passes. I-80 through Donner Pass will likely close multiple times this week. If you're planning any Sierra travel, have flexible plans and know when it's time to call the trip off entirely. And here's something that could genuinely save a life this weekend if you know elderly folks living alone in the snow zones. Check on them. Shovel their walkway. Make sure they have food and medication. Remember Mr. Harold in Minneapolis. He's 82 years old, snowed in for 3 days, running low on his heart medication, and his son is driving 5 hours from Chicago just to help him. That's the kind of action I need from everyone who has elderly loved ones in the storm zones. Don't assume someone else is checking on them. Make that call yourself today. All right, here are my 3 bold predictions. Screenshot this right now because you can absolutely hold me to these when everything plays out over the next week. Prediction number 1, Minneapolis hits 26 inches total by Monday morning, breaking the February daily snowfall record and forcing the city to declare a full snow emergency. Prediction number 2, the Sierra Nevada sees at least 10 feet of snow by February 22nd, with some higher elevation spots approaching the 20-foot mark before the month ends. Prediction number 3, I-80 through Donner Pass closes for at least 48 total hours this week due to whiteout conditions, avalanche control operations, and jackknife trucks. If I'm wrong on any of these, I'll own it right here on this channel. That accountability is exactly how you know you can trust what I'm telling you day after day. So, let me bring it all together. We've got 302 inches of snow projected for the Sierras, 12 to 20 inches burying New York City. And Mr. Harold in Minneapolis snowed in for 3 days running low on medication. Remember that 1-2 punch from Mother Nature I mentioned at the beginning? The first punch just knocked the East Coast flat, and the second is winding up out west as we speak. And we're all standing somewhere in between, some digging out from historic snow, some enjoying 80-degree sunshine, all depending on where we happen to call home. The atmosphere is delivering a double feature this weekend. And honestly, folks, this is one of the most dynamic and impressive winter patterns we've seen all season long. Check on your neighbors, especially the elderly. Share this video with anyone you know who's in the storm path. And please, stay safe out there this weekend. I'll have an update first thing tomorrow morning with the latest snow totals, the timing on that massive western storm, and whether that polar vortex is going to deliver the coldest air of the winter. Drop your city in the comments one more time. Let me know how much snow you've gotten so far, and I'll catch you in the next update. Stay safe and stay warm out there, folks.